really happy to have you. I think it's a good way to say it. The stage is yours.
Perfect, Finn. So, hello everyone. My name is Sam Dixon. I'm a legislative theatre facilitator and a prison theatre facilitator based in Manchester. And you are currently in the Transformative Power of Legislative Theatre webinar. So, just a quick overview of what we're going to go through today. We're going to do a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of what legislative theatre is, how it works. You're going to get a little snippet of what the process looks like, feels like by us actually doing a little bit of it. And then we're just going to have a lot of like reflections and interactions. And yeah, it's going to be as collaborative as possible. And I'm really excited to be here today. So before we jump in, I'd like to get to know you a bit better. We've had quite a few people type in the chat already who they are, where they're like coming from, what they do, things like that. So if you're yet to do that, it'd be great to see in the chat. Yeah, where you guys are joining from and what you're all up to. I'll put mine again in the chat in case it's gone missing, even though I have just said it out loud.
2 people from Manchester.
Brilliant. Okay, I think we've got everyone's now. So yeah, we've got a lot of variety of different people and experiences in the room, which is a great place to start. And welcome to, yeah, this hour. It's going to be really fun and I'm really happy to have you all here. So I'm just going to share my screen now. Okay, so I'll just repeat myself. Today's webinar is the transformative power of legislative theatre, presented by Platoniq. I'm really excited to share a lot of resources with you today and talk through how it works and take you guys through it. So we're going to have some fantastic resources from Katie Rubin and the People Act. Yeah, just showing you a bit about how legislative theatre works and why it works and how impactful it is. So let's get started by diving into the topic of legislative theatre. Before I give you the full definition and show you a short animation, I want to hear from you about what you know or don't know about this methodology. What I'd like us to do is to get a sense of what everyone already knows about it and where people are up to on it, because it's okay if you don't know what it is. I only found out what this methodology was about a year and a half ago. And I learned about it through a project ran by Platoniq called Mindset Revolution. And now I'm here today. So we're going to pop a Mentimeter in the chat, which is a little interactive question. So Nadia, if you could pop that in the chat and we can just, yeah, get a feel of what everyone knows in the room. I think it's come through. Perfect.
Yeah, I shared it. Maybe Nadia, you want to
Fabulous.
share your screen and then we see the results, if Sam agrees.
Would you like, I can open it and share mine on if that would
Yeah,
be
please do.
helpful.
Yes.
Oh, I sent a request to share it.
Ah, okay. Is it sharing on mine, the answers currently?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Cool. So the question is, have you heard of legislative theatre before? If yes, how would you describe it in one sentence? If no, what do you think it might involve? So we've got 2 answers already. We've got, yes, it's about fun participatory policy making, even if we talk about serious business. Yes, that is a very good definition. We've got, is it theatre performances about social issues? Yes, it definitely is. Let's see what other people have got.
So you got the link of the Mentimeter on in the chat for the people who just arrived. Hi, sign up.
SPECT actors come together to create creative solutions on the problems they face in their community and involve decision makers into change. Amazing. We've got some lingo here. SPECT actors. We're going to dive into all of this later. This is really just to get a sense of where we're all at. There's no right or wrong answer. Theatre that talks about public policy. Definitely. A fun participatory democracy process to co-create policy and practice. Fab. Use theatre to impact politically in the conscious of people. Fabulous. Amazing. You guys seem really up to speed with this. So hopefully this will serve as a nice exploration of a little bit more about how it works and why it works. What else have we got? So I'm seeing a lot of use of the word policy and creativity, and that's definitely what we're going to focus on today. So I'll just head back to the presentation.
Joseph has just came in. So Joseph, you also in the chat, you can introduce yourself and you have a little survey to answer. If you can do that while Sam is talking. Thanks.
Right. Okay, so now we've heard from what we think legislative theatre is, I'm going to show a little animation video by the People Act, which kind of gives you an introduction into what it is and how it works.
What if every citizen could be a policymaker? In a time of rising inequalities, climate crisis, and breakdown of public trust, we need many diverse actors working together to shape the policies and laws that will make our communities more livable, equitable, and sustainable. One tool is legislative theatre, which originated in the streets and council chambers of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in the 1990s, out of the tradition of theatre of the oppressed. Since then, it's taken off around the world, and momentum is growing. How does it work? Communities who are directly impacted by unjust or ineffective policies come together to play games, tell stories, and build scenes based on their shared lived experiences. In public legislative theatre events, neighbors, advocates, and policymakers gather to watch the play and identify problems as they are experienced every day, building a shared understanding. Audience members are invited on stage to improvise creative solutions to the problems, to test and refine their ideas together. This is a shared experience of problem solving. Finally, everyone drafts policy proposals, engaging in deliberation and debate until it's time to vote. And then decision makers present make commitments to immediate actions. Voting is a joyous act. Everyone becomes a policymaker, working together and taking shared risks, and the traditional power dynamics are turned upside down. Over the past 30 years, legislative theatre processes have led to concrete changes in cities, regions, and national contexts. In Zimbabwe, it's been used to shape climate policy. In the UK, to address gendered harassment in public spaces. In Brazil, to advance domestic workers' protections. And in Austria, to develop new legislation on disability rights. And these are just a few examples out of many.
Fabulous. Okay, so that was a fantastic video by the People Act, which provides lots of educational resources on legislative theatre. I've got some links to it which we can share through Platoniq after this is done. So yeah, legislative theatre is about bringing together everyday people and those in power, like policymakers or community leaders, to figure out creative and practical ways to tackle big challenges. What I think is amazing about this method is that it's not just serious problem solving. It's an opportunity to make the process engaging and accessible and more fun. And people are in the room where they might not have been in the room beforehand. So I'll just turn the slide over. I think my laptop might be lagging slightly, but that's okay. Let's see. Here we go. So yeah, at its core, legislative theatre is about breaking down barriers. It's about flipping traditional power structures so everyone has an equal voice in creating solutions that are not only innovative, but also rooted in real life experiences. And again, it's something that has to be fun. It's about creativity and fun. So what I'd like everyone to do is to take a second to think about how democracy feels to you. What does it look like? What has been your experience of it? And of course, because this is a legislative theatre workshop, what I want you to do is to make an image of how you feel about it. How does democracy feel to you at this current point in time? So take a few minutes. I'm also going to do it as well. Take a few minutes to think about how you can represent how that feels to you. So you can use your face, you can use your body, perhaps any objects that are around you. I'll give you a minute. And then once you feel like you've come up with something, give me a thumbs up. Are we all feeling ready to do it? No worries if your camera's off. That's absolutely fine. As long as you're doing it, taking up space, that's absolutely fine. So in about 5 seconds, I'm going to ask if we can all make these images, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Make your images. Oh, interesting. Okay, if you can, hold these images. Hold these images right now. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so that we can have a bit of a look. We've got 2 of these. We've got a lot of negatives. We've got 1 love heart. That's really interesting. It's really interesting because we all have different experiences of democracy, because we all have different lived experiences. We all come from different backgrounds. And this is something that both Linton and Chim explored in their previous webinars, all about intersectionality and how these things affect our experience of policy making and democracy. So just keep that in mind whilst we go throughout today's workshop. But yeah, it was interesting to see so much variety there. I'm just going to share my screen once again. So, legislative theatre is an incredibly versatile tool that can be applied in so many different environments and contexts. It can be used in workplaces, it can be used within organisations and charities, it can be used in local government or national government, anywhere that is having real life issues that need to be addressed, essentially, is where it can be used. Personally, the projects that I've worked in have been with involving local policy. It's involved workplaces, local councils, things like that. But yeah, they can take place in so many different places and contexts. It's basically about helping people to feel equal to policymakers and get them in the same room as each other, which is something that doesn't happen as often as it should. And what I think is so fantastic about this method is that it's not just theoretical, it does work. So later in the session, we're going to explore some real life examples of its impact and its effectiveness. But for now, I want to focus on you. Let's think about some challenges that you have faced, whether in your work, your community, or the world around you. This could be problems that a creative policymaking tool like legislative theatre might have helped address or could help solve in the future. Just to give you a few examples, some of the projects I've worked on. One of them was Mindset Revolution, a project in collaboration with Platoniq, the University of Birmingham and Manchester Metropolitan University. That project was about youth mental health and capturing youth voice to help shape the way that young people experience the mental health system. Another one that I've done was in Greater Manchester, and it was about women's experience of public safety and what are the changes we can make to ensure that women and girls feel safer on the streets of Manchester. Most recently, one that I did was about how can we create policies in the workplace to make sure women and girls have equity. So there are so many different scenarios, but what I'd like you to do is to take a second, have a think about any problems that you think legislative theatre could have benefited you with. If you can't think of any that have happened to yourself, what I'd like you to do is think about problems you've observed around you, problems that you can see in the society and the communities you are in. The way we're going to do this is Nadia is going to pop a Mentimeter in the chat for us to do this. So we're going to get a link in just a second and we can all share those things there.
Actually the same link than before, but anyway, we're sharing it together.
Same link as before.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so what challenges have you faced in your work, community, or the world around you that a creative policymaking tool like legislative theatre might help? Again, you're more than welcome to share one that you've simply observed around you. Climate anxiety, that's a very good one. I'm also going to share one. So we've got climate anxiety, racism, communities are divided and we all live in bubbles. Public controversy about new cycle lanes in my neighbourhood, the construction time, how they impacted traffic, etc. Polarising politics, being judged for my age in policy-making settings. People get bored, same ideas as always, lack of interest, lack of commitment in long processes. Here in Barcelona, we need to try something with housing, maybe could help. Better wages, high rents, bigger economic inequality. How to use a local empty lot, more parking, grocery store, community venues. What we're seeing here is such a diverse range of topics that are affecting our lives and need to have people's voice at the core of them to be able to change them. There's a lot of variety here, which perhaps says a lot about how much needs to be changed. What I'd like us to think about is environments and contexts that these could crop up in. Just start having a think about it. There's not going to be a task to do with that yet. But just have a think about where we may experience polarizing politics or communities being divided and we all live in bubbles, or climate anxiety, racism. Keep all of these in mind. I'm just going to switch back to the slides. So we're going to do a group activity now. It might seem a little bit daunting, but it's absolutely fine. Where you're going to be supported by myself and Platoniq along the way. So what I'd like us to do is explore this process a little bit together. And when we do this in person, it's a bit of a longer process, but I'm just going to give you a little bite size of it today. So here's what we're going to do in the groups. We're going to choose a challenge either from the list or one that may be inspired by something on the list, in a breakout room, which we're going to be put in just a few minutes. And we're going to, choose a challenge, come up with one that might be inspired from the list. And we're going to start thinking about the context and environment. Where might we see this in the world around us? Pick one location, essentially. It could be a doctor's office. It could be at a community centre. It could be at any location that you can think of that you feel like highlights where this issue is. Then in the group, you'll have between 7 to 8 minutes, very specific number, but if we feel like we need more, then we will give you more time, but I think that'll be plenty of time. Really come up with a scene that captures this scenario, captures the problem that you have chosen as a group. And now what we'd normally do in the process is we'd see every single person's scene. Now, just because of the timings of today, we're not going to be able to see everyone's scene, which might actually feel quite relaxing to some of you, which is absolutely fine. But yeah, just really try and get into the scene. I'm going to be jumping in and out to help with any ways to do it, because I know it is a little bit weird over Zoom. So if you just wanted to do it, like, come up with it, maybe written or verbally rather, or just have an interaction like characters on screen. So one person, for example, could be a doctor, or one person could be a police officer. Anyway, so we're going to do that, and then afterwards we're going to bring you back in and we're going to hear what everyone's ideas are and dive into those a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yes. Anyway, I will basically share in the chat some, again, written instructions of what you just said, Sam, to help.
Yes,
translated into Spanish for the people abroad. Anyway, just in case. And then you will be sent to, you have to basically accept the invitation to one of the room you're assigned to. And Samantha hopefully will visit us. So here we go.
Okay, I'll see you guys soon. I will be hopping in and out, so I will see you very shortly.
Takes a bit of time because actually I'm assigning manually. Because I had an issue.
That's all right. No, there's no rush.
Great. So you should accept and is that working for everybody?
I think so. I've been asked to join one. Should I click not now and then I can join later?
Whatever you prefer, yes.
Okay. Have Zainab and Harrison been sent to?
I will move them myself. Zainab. So, Sam, we have Katie in room 1, just to let you know, and Nadia in room 2.
Fab.
You see the option of moving from one room to the other, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Don't think I explained that very clearly, so I will go in and out of the rooms in a second.
Cool. Maybe I will stop recording. Unless I want to go in one specific room and then record it, I'm not sure. I'll let them work. I do a pause. Here we go. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. Fab. Is this, I think we've got everyone. Is this everyone, Olivia?
Let me check. I think almost everybody, maybe we've lost someone on the way, but anyway.
That's okay.
Yep, everybody's there.
Okay, so I know I threw you guys a little bit in the deep end there, but thank you for being so willing to take on that task. So before we hear from the two groups, what I'd like to check is if any group would like to share theirs physically. I mean, I did hear that Sonia's group, which was group 2, were assigning roles.
Yeah, we went.
So is group 2, do you guys feel comfortable enough to share?
Yeah, we did a dress rehearsal, so yeah.
Wow, you
Very
guys are so
professional.
prepared.
We can do it.
We got some professionals there.
Okay. Nadia, did you call the doctor to get the results from your blood tests?
Yeah, I called them all day yesterday, but they haven't picked up. I haven't been able to make an appointment. Technically, I did have my blood test, so they should pick up the phone. And I should have a follow-up appointment. It's been so frustrating. I think everything's fine, but I really just don't know. Let me try calling them again.
Keep trying.
Yeah, I've called them
Gonna
all
stage
day.
a protest if you don't get your
Let's see.
Christian, we cannot afford too much people.
Sí, es que no, we are not enough. We don't have any people here in the hospital. We need more resources. I try to call to the health Departamento de Salud of Barcelona to try to find some answers for this problem. I don't know.
Find a solution, please.
Okay, wait. Yes, healthcare problems. Espera, Fernando, que no se te oye. Estás
Fernando,
muteado.
you're muted. Estás silenciado. Tienes que abrir tu micro.
Venga.
Venga, hola.
Sí, a ver, Departamento de Salud.
Sí,
Bueno, mira, es que llamo porque es que estamos totalmente saturados en el hospital, no para de llamarnos la gente, tenemos una cola gigantesca de pacientes, los médicos, los enfermeros, los médicos, todo el mundo está angustiado, ansioso. Necesitamos una respuesta institucional rápida.
ya le hemos dicho que no hay plata para girarle a los centros de salud. Estamos en una crisis económica que golpea fuertemente a toda España y que lamentablemente van a tener que utilizar los recursos que tengan y hacer frente al reclamo de los pacientes. No hay plata para girarle a los centros de salud.
Bueno, pero es que si seguimos así nos vamos a ir a la huelga, ¿eh?
Y veremos, no creemos que puedan ir a la huelga, pero si van a la huelga veremos otros mecanismos para poder hacer frente al reclamo de la sociedad.
Bueno, nada, pues muchas gracias.
Hasta luego.
Done.
So like a brief
Okay.
translation. Yeah.
Well done.
I
Well
don't know if we need
done.
a translation of this, but it was clear, right?
Well, yeah.
Sorry.
Do people want to share what they thought what happened in that scene? What happened? What did people see there? Feel free to just unmute yourself and talk, or you can raise your hand if you like. But what happened in that scene?
The health system crumbling,
Mm.
right? Not
Mhm.
enough resources.
Yeah.
My poor daughter Nadia, not able to get blood tests results. So yeah, but then the people at the other end were struggling. They just didn't have enough people to staff to even answer the call or do the blood tests.
Yeah.
Then the health department just says, there is a crisis, there's austerity, we can't do anything. So it's always the same cycle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And these are problems that we see in our lives, isn't it? These are problems that we see from day to day, and we can recognize them. They happen. So thank you for sharing those. That was brilliant. Thank you for being so open and willing. So round of applause to group 2. Very well done. Now, group 1, would you like to, you can either share it physically, or just due to timing, it might be great if we could just hear about what your scene was, if that's all right.
Yeah, so we chose the climate anxiety issue. So we came up with a scenario within like a school setting. So the students were asking for climate education, but as the heads of teachers and we're kind of just saying, we don't have the resources, it's not part of the curriculum. So yeah, that was kind of the tension. And then we just discussed a bit just around how the students could create a more of interactive and solution-based lessons, instead of it being like a super academic kind of climate education lesson. So youth could talk about the issues that they've seen in their community to be more solution orientated. So yeah, that's kind of what we were discussing.
Fab. So there you were talking about education, capturing youth voice, all in relation to climate change. And again, these are problems that we all see. These are real problems. So thank you for coming up with that. Now, just due to timings, I am going to do a little bit of a quick overview of this process. But what would happen in a regular legislative theatre process after we've seen the scenes or the play would be audience members are invited to participate in something called forum theatre, which is where they're able to insert themselves in to these scenes, a scene of their choice, and essentially like propose creative solutions and creative policies on stage in person to try and fix that problem. And the reason why we do this is to test it. It's to test it. It's to get people thinking a bit more creatively when they approach this problem solving and policy making aspect. And through it, we managed to hear a lot of diverse ways of like how we can solve it. It is always one of the most fantastic parts of the process, getting to see the community members' ideas up on its feet on how we can solve these problems. So I'm just going to share my screen again. And now we're going to talk about policy proposals. So this step comes after the forum theatre section. And this is where every single person in the room gets to choose one of the issues that have been presented in the play. And they get to come up, they get the opportunity to come up with a solution to it or a way to help it that comes from them. So this is the policy sheet that is typically used, made by Katie Rubin. And it basically says, in order to insert goal. So for example, in order to make sure that women and girls feel safer on the streets, we suggest making sure that street lights are turned on, for example. That's just an example of a suggestion that people have actually suggested. And then at the bottom, it's who has the power or responsibility to make your idea happen. So could it be a councillor? Could it be a politician? Could it be a police officer or a head of the police? Those kinds of things. So what I'd like us to do is very quickly in the chat is to kind of do this sheet just very quickly. Obviously take a minute to have a think. We are running short on time, but this is a really really fun part of it, because we get to creative problem solve together. So you can either choose the scene that you created or the scene that you watched or heard about. And yeah, think of a policy or a solution to help prevent what happened in the scene happen. I'll just make that full screen again. So we have, in order to solve the rent problem, we suggest to control the price of flats, and we think the mayor of the city has to solve it. Interesting. Interesting. Thank you for that one. We'll just get as many as we can. Fabulous. These are all looking great. In order to support better public healthcare, we suggest more just taxes on wealth by policymakers. Interesting. In order to avoid heat services to be saturated, we suggest to promote community of mutual care, Catalan public services. Amazing. These are all fantastic suggestions, guys. And so essentially, feel free to carry on writing if you are. But essentially what happens after this point is there is massive discussion between community members and the policymakers in the room about these proposed things. You know, there's a massive discussion on whether it's doable, perhaps if there's some compromises to be made. And it's always facilitated by a legislative theatre facilitator to really hold the policymakers to account and really make sure that they know that they probably do have the power to change these things. And then at the end of it, the facilitators will keep in touch with the policymakers to make sure that the things that they've promised to do are being worked on. That's one of the things that Platoniq helped with. They helped with having a digital tracker to make the data more visual for people, which was something that was really interesting. So we do have a video, another video by the People Act, but just due to time, I'm probably going to skip over it, but we will send out all of the videos. It's basically a video about a legislative theatre project in the UK, talking about the real life impact that it had on the community and the participants. But again, these are all things that will be sent out to you guys. I'll just go to the last slide if it will let me. Fabulous. Okay, so I'm just going to take a very quick moment to talk about my experience of legislative theatre. So I got into legislative theatre as an actor, as a participant in the process, and that was with the Mindset Revolution project with Platoniq, Manchester Metropolitan University and University of Birmingham. And as a result of that, I was offered some training to become a facilitator in it, to continue the legacy of the policymaking that happens in our communities. So since then, I've facilitated quite a few different workshops and projects. And one thing that I didn't realise was how transformative it would feel for me as a person. I could see how transformative it was on a policy level, and I could see how it transformed the communities and how empowered it made the communities feel. But what I didn't expect for myself was the way it could kind of completely improved my well-being, just simply on the topic of a recent project that I facilitated on. It was called Right to the Street, and it was about women and girls' feeling of public safety, and it was about sexual harassment and gendered violence. As someone who has experienced those things, I kind of entered into that project thinking a little bit cynically about it, thinking that, oh, I don't know if much is going to change as a result of it. But, and again, we can send the full report out on what actually changed. But at the end of that, it was genuinely the first time in my life where I felt like I had power and a voice. It was the first time where I didn't feel powerless and hopeless anymore. And it's really, it doesn't, legislative theatre is not designed as like to serve as a therapeutic model, but it has massively like lit a fire in me to continue this work, because it's not only completely beneficial to communities, it's also massively beneficial to the people who take part in it. So yeah, I am just singing its praises right now, but that's what I'm here to do. So yeah, just to wrap it up, I know we have 1 more minute to go, so if you do need to leave, that is no problem at all. It's been really lovely to have you here. But what I'd like us to do, just to kind of have a bit of a full circle moment, is take a few seconds to think about how you would feel if policy making and democracy was more fun. Have a few seconds to think about how that might feel or look in your face, body, props, anything around you. And as before, we're going to count down and we're going to show it on screen. We're going to show what that feels like for us. Okay? Are we all ready? Fab. Okay, I'm going to count down and we're going to do it. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody pose. Amazing. Again, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can have a look. Amazing. We've got so many happy faces in the room, and that is what we want. This is what democracy should be. This is what policy making should be. It should be fun. That is the only way that it's going to be sustainable, and the only way it's going to be the most innovative and creative it can be. So I would just like to say thank you to everyone who's joined, for being so willing with all of the tasks we've had today. And a big thank you to Olivier and Nadia at Platoniq for helping with all of the technical stuff and planning. And also a massive thank you to Katie Rubin and the People Act for the fantastic resources that I used in the PowerPoint. So everyone give yourself a round of applause. Well done.